Hi, I'm Bob. We will solve the exercises in section 10.3 about competitive exchange and 10.4 about production and trading. I used the textbook Microeconomics, Theory and Applications with Calculus, the 5th edition by Professor Jeffrey Perloff. An introductory microeconomics course can be found in the description below. Let's get started. Let's solve exercise 3.1. In an Edgeworth box, illustrate that a Pareto efficient equilibrium, point A, can be obtained by competition given an appropriate endowment. Do so by identifying an initial endowment point B, located somewhere other than at point A, such that the competitive equilibrium is A. Explain. In the Edgeworth box, point A is a Pareto efficient allocation because no party can be better off without harming another party. If the endowment B is on the price line, then Amy and Bob can trade to point A. In other words, any efficient allocation can be obtained by competitive exchange, given an appropriate initial allocation of goods. Let's go to exercise 4.1. In panel C of figure 10.5, the joint production possibility frontier is concave to the origin. When the two individual production possibility frontiers are combined, however, the resulting PPF could have been drawn so that it was convex to the origin. How do we know which of these two ways of drawing the PPF to use? The production possibility frontier shows the maximum combinations of the two goods that can be produced from a given amount of input. Suppose we draw the production possibility frontier that is convex to the origin. In that case, we will find that it is completely inside the production possibility frontier that is concave to the origin. So it does not present the maximum combinations of the goods. Only the concave one is the production possibility frontier. Let's answer exercise 4.2. Pat and Chris can spend their long leisure time working either in the marketplace or at home, preparing dinner, taking care of children, doing repairs. In the marketplace, Pat earns a higher wage than Chris. Discuss how living together is likely to affect how much each of them works in the marketplace. Discuss what effect marriage would have on their individual and combined budget constraints and their labor-leisure choices. In your discussion, take into account the theory of comparative advantage. For Pat, the budget constraint is as follows. The slope of the budget line is minus WP equals minus 20. Similarly, Chris has a budget line with a slope of minus 10. Pat has a comparative advantage in working in the marketplace, and Chris has a comparative advantage in working at home. After marriage, they can benefit from specialization. Pat can specialize in working in the marketplace and earn money. Chris can specialize in working at home. Suppose they each spend 8 hours working in the marketplace and 8 hours working at home before marriage. They earn $240 collectively. After marriage, Pat can spend 16 hours working in the marketplace and Chris can spend 16 hours on housework. They earn $320. The total hours of housework are unchanged. They do better after marriage because each of them uses their comparative advantage. Let's solve exercise 4.3. Suppose that Britain can produce 10 units of cloth and 5 units of food per day, or any linear combination, with available resources, and that Greece can produce 2 units of food per day and 1 unit of cloth, or any combination. Britain has an absolute advantage over Greece in producing both goods. Does it still make sense for these countries to trade? Explain. Yes, Britain's marginal rate of transformation between cloth and food is -1/2. Greece has a marginal rate of transformation of -2. Britain has a comparative advantage in producing cloth. Greece has a comparative advantage in producing food. The production possibility frontiers of the two countries are as follows. Their joint production possibility frontier has a kink at 10 units of cloth and 2 units of food and is concave to the origin. Suppose Britain produces 1 unit of food and 8 units of cloth, and Greece produces 1 unit of food and 0.5 unit of cloth before trading. They produce 2 units of food and 8.5 units of cloth collectively. If Britain specializes in producing cloth and Greece specializes in producing food, they can produce 2 units of food and 10 units of cloth at point E. After trading, each country can have 1 unit of food as before, but more cloth than before. They are better off after using their comparative advantage and trading. Let's answer exercise 4.4. If J and Denise have identical linear production possibility frontiers, can they gain from trade? Explain. No. If the two people have linear production possibility frontiers with the same slope, then the joint production possibility frontier is also a straight line with the same slope. They have the same marginal rate of transformation, so no party has a comparative advantage. They cannot benefit from specialization and trading. Let's find answers to exercise 4.5. Modify solved problem 10.5 to show that the production possibility frontier more closely approximates a quarter of a circle with 6 people. One of these new people, Bill, can produce 5 piles of wood or 4 candy bars or any linear combination. The other, Helen, can produce 4 piles of wood, or 5 candy bars, or any linear combination. We solve the problem in 2 steps. In the first step, we describe each person's individual production possibility frontier. In the second step, we draw the joint production possibility frontier by connecting the individual production possibility frontier in order of comparative advantage in chopping wood. If all 5 people produce candy, they make 23 candy bars. We start drawing the first production possibility frontier at the lower right. The first production possibility frontier is J's because her marginal rate of transformation is -2, and she has a comparative advantage over the other 4 people in chopping wood. Next, we draw Bill's production possibility frontier. Then comes Harvey's, and then Helen's, and finally Denise's. The resulting production possibility frontier is concave to the origin. Let's go to exercise 4.6. Mexico and the United States can both produce food and toys. Mexico has 100 workers and the United States has 300 workers. If they do not trade, the United States consumes 10 units of food and 10 toys, and Mexico consumes 5 units of food and 1 toy. The following table shows how many workers are necessary to produce each good. In Part A, in the absence of trade, how many units of food and toys can the United States produce? How many can Mexico produce? In the absence of trade, the United States can produce 30 units of food, or 15 units of toys, or any linear combination, such as 10 units of food and 10 toys. Mexico can produce 10 units of food or 2 toys, or any linear combination, such as 5 units of food and 1 toy. In Part B, which country has a comparative advantage in producing food, in producing toys? The United States' marginal rate of transformation is -2. Mexico's marginal rate of transformation is -5. Mexico can produce relatively more food and has a comparative advantage in producing food. The United States can produce relatively more toys and has a comparative advantage in producing toys. In Part C, draw the production possibility for each country and show where the two produce without trade. Label the axes accurately. Without trade, the United States produces 10 units of food and 10 toys, as point A shows. Mexico makes 5 units of food and 1 toy, as point B shows. In Part D, draw the production possibility frontier with trade. With trade, they can produce jointly. The joint production possibility frontier is concave to the origin. In Part E, we show that both countries can benefit from trade. Both countries can benefit from trade. For example, they can produce at point C. Mexico produces food only because it has a comparative advantage in producing food. It produces 10 units of food. The United States produces 5 units of food and 12.5 units of toys. The two countries have 15 units of food and 12.5 units of toys. After trade, the United States can have 10 units of food and Mexico can have 5 units of food, the same as without trade. But they can both have more toys, such as 10.5 for the United States and 2 for the Mexico. They are both better off from specialization and trading. Thank you very much for solving all the exercises with me today. See you soon in the next section of the chapter. Goodbye. Thank you for watching this video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. See you next time.